What's up, everybody? This is Lance. I'm the host of the Health and Real Estate Podcast. And I also have a school community called Health and Real Estate. It is a school community for real estate professionals, and it is specifically about health and lead gen. So the main thing is health made simple, lead gen made fun. So join that community. We are doing a awesome health and wellness challenge starting in June 8th. And that brings me to today's podcast guest. We have Chelsea Vandersnick. She is the VP of Education at Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. So we're going to talk about how she got into that role, and we're going to go over a really awesome loan programs for real estate agents. It's called the Agent Plus program. Then we're going to touch on a couple other loan programs they offer. So Chelsea, how did you get into real estate?
So I actually, when I originally went to college right out of high school, I've always loved math. So I went to school for finance and accounting. Very early on, I took an internship auditing for a financial firm, and realized this is not my thing. Like, I'm too much of a people person. I don't want to be the most hated person in the room. And so, very randomly, I was at a Starbucks. This was when I lived in Tampa, Florida. And I had a Keller Williams team leader standing next to me. And she heard me just making small talk with complete strangers. I'm 20 years old at the time. And she told me, "You have a personality for real estate." I had zero idea what that meant. Like, I grew up in small town, Midwest, had no idea what a personality for real estate looked like. But she actually gave me her business card and said, "Hey, we're actually, hiring new agents that would be a good fit. Like, if you ever want to talk, let me know." Well, me being 20 years old, just, thinking, well, this is interesting. Like, I've never had somebody approach me before about like a job in this way, like at a Starbucks coffee shop. And so I actually did. I called her up. We met. We went through like my disc profile. We did all the things. I signed up to get licensed. And then, like, 4 months later, I was a full time real estate agent and started my way from being a showing specialist to a buyer's agent to working myself up to the listing side of a team. A couple years later, I relocated back to the Midwest where I did grew up and I now live, and went out as a solo producing agent. But then in 2016, I took a turn to the dark side, aka the mortgage industry, and hung up my real estate hat and put on a new hat in the mortgage industry. And then now here we are 10 years later, which is crazy to me that it's been 10 years already. Here I am at Mutual of Omaha Mortgage.
Awesome. And you're the VP of Education there. And so, what exactly does that mean?
So my role is like incredibly unique. I don't know if there's other roles with any other companies that exist where someone gets to do what I get to do, and kind of what my role entails. So, VP of education, there's a lot of ways you could look at that, right? Is she a trainer? Does she help with just educating on systems or programs? Like, what is a VP of education in a mortgage business? Well, as I just mentioned, I started my real estate career with Keller Williams, who is not only a powerful real estate company, it's also a world class training organization. And so education is such a strong staple within the Keller Williams and a lot of different real estate companies, day to day operations, that when I switched over into mortgage, I had a thirst for education. And I just immediately started studying everything I could about different types of loans and things like that. And I very quickly realized there are so many gaps and holes between where a real estate agent's knowledge leaves off that a loan officer start. And a lot of times it's just so routine, a loan officer doesn't even think to communicate something that could be a huge leverage component for that agent to help them with their lead generation, with overcoming objections, creative solutions for hairy, buyer seller situations. And so I kind of said, okay, the way in which I want to create value for my agent partners that I was then now working with in a mortgage capacity was, I want to provide gap coverage. Like, I want to pour into them all the things that I just learned that I wish I would have learned when I was an agent, because it would have helped me, like I said, better lead generate, have more powerful buyer consultations and seller consultations, things like that. And so when I first came on to Mutual of Omaha Mortgage, there was no like we had trainers and stuff in the sense that the traditional here's how to learn how to do the system, here's how to understand the products and programs we offer, but not from like a business development sense with real estate agent partners. And so I had the very, very fortunate opportunity to take on this role where I now get to create content and then present that content to real estate agents all across the country of how they can leverage the fundamentals and some of the more complex options from the mortgage industry to really set their business on fire by not having to be the expert, but at least knowing and understanding where those gaps are, what the knowledge fill is in the in between to help them win more deals, get to more closing tables in a more streamlined, less headache type manner. So very fortunate for what I get to do. And then I know we'll talk here in a minute. I also plays a very important part to our Agent Plus program, which has a lot of education built into it as well.
Awesome. So it sounds like you are perfectly suited for this role because you noticed there was that gap between real estate agents and lenders. So you being in both worlds, you're able to close that gap and offer education and solutions to both parties. Um, Before we get into the Agent Plus program, tell people a little bit more about Mutual of Omaha Mortgage.
Yes. So, and I will call myself out. When I first was looking at different opportunities of where to work, I had a very trusted mentor recommend to me Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. And my first thought, because I grew up in the Midwest, is Mutual of Omaha has a mortgage company? Like, what? And this was more in the beginning stages of when the company was first concepted. But, I knew what Mutual of Omaha was because it's a staple insurance company that's been around for over 100 years. Like, I remember their, Wild Kingdom TV show and protecting wildlife. And so it intrigued me just from the brand recognition of Mutual of Omaha that they have a mortgage company. Okay. So first got connected with them. And, all of the values and principles that Mutual of Omaha Insurance has are embodied by the mortgage company. So, like Mutual of Omaha, their slogan is, protect your kingdom. And we're very much like, let's help grow your kingdom. Like, let's help you on your homeownership journey, and things like that. And so for me, it was an instant fit because of the values and principles that are embodied from the mortgage company through the insurance company. And then just knowing how much, as we spoke about, they value education. Because one of the things that drives me nuts about mortgage companies is they don't put more of an emphasis on educating, making sure, one, their loan officers are educated. So they're continually evolving and adapting to new information as it comes. So then they can adequately relay that to their real estate agent partners. But then also, too, having an educational lead in for agents that they can come to us and trust that, hey, if I'm taking a class through Mutual of Omaha Mortgage, it is going to be the best in class training that I'm going to get from anywhere else. It's not just going to be your mortgage 101. Like, I'm actually going to come to this and get business development ideas, like social media content ideas, things like that, ways in which I can grow my business.
Awesome. I love it. And that brings us to the Agent Plus program, which is what's interested me the most because I'm an agent and I see this as a huge benefit for real estate agents. So, could you explain what the Agent Plus program is?
Yes. So the Agent Plus program has been around now for about 2.5 years. The Agent Plus program is when a real estate agent is interested in getting their mortgage license. But I'm not talking like hanging up their real estate hat and going into mortgage like I did. I'm talking about doing both. So being a dual licensed real estate and mortgage loan officer. What they can do is when we look at expansion, right? Like every real estate agent is an entrepreneur, right? They're their own business owner. And we talk about, okay, how can we look at building your income streams? They can look at then getting their mortgage license for the state or states in which they're licensed in for real estate. And then they can now use that as an add on service for their clients that they're already working with, everybody in their database and sphere of influence, to now not only do they have a second income stream for themselves by being a dual licensed real estate agent and loan officer, but now also they can have that much more control of the home buying or the home selling process because now they're essentially a one stop streamlined shop. It's no longer, oh, I have all these different people that are helping me on my home sale or my home purchase. Now I just have this one singular person that I can trust is my guide or my wealth advisor, my housing advisor that is going to be with me for every step of the way, not just when I'm selling or buying, but also if I ever need to refinance in the future. Now we're giving agents this opportunity to capitalize on all of these relationships they've made within their clients, their sphere of influence, and their entire database going back to day one.
Yes, that is super powerful, especially in today's market with real estate agents where, transactions are down. There's also commission suppression. So it's great to have other ways, other sources of income. And this, they go hand in hand. Like you said, it's not one or the other. So, how does this work for agents if they were working with a buyer and then they wanted to also become a agent, you do this agent plus program, how are they compensated or how does that work?
So, how this works is because they're actually having to become a licensed individual, they would sign up on our website. We offer live weekly presentations. I'm actually the one that hosts them, where we will present to them all the nooks and crannies and all the specifics about the Agent Plus program, or they can opt to receive that as an on demand presentation so they can make sure that. Yes, in fact, this is the right opportunity for them. But once they're all in, they've signed up on the websites, then they will get the steps to sign up for education. So, education to get your mortgage license is 20 hours of federal education always. And then, depending on what state they're in, there may or may not be state based education they have to take. So, like where I'm at in Illinois, there's no state based education. But if they were in California, there is state hours they would have to take. Now, after completing just their 20 hours of federal education, they then would have to take the mortgage exam. It's 115 questions. You get 3 hours to take it. You have to take it at a proctored facility, just like the real estate exam. They have to pass with a 75% or better passing score. And then once they pass that exam, that's when we can begin the onboarding process with them. But one thing I do want to highlight is if they're already busy in real estate, like it's kind of hard to juggle education and testing and studying and all the things. We built out in house practice tests, in house study guides, and I host a weekly live study session where agents can come and I have information on the most commonly wrongful answered questions on the exam, the most common word answer traps, like things like that to help them get prepared and know like what the highest weighted parts of the exam are so they can hyper focus where they're studying. And then they can just pick my brain. They can ask me questions about anything that they're having trouble comprehending, studying things like that. And then once we begin the onboarding process, that is when they actually join the company as an employee. So they're a W 2 employee, part time, not full time, right? Because we don't want to give them their full time gig. But that's when they actually come on and they join the company as a part time employee.
Awesome. Yeah, it doesn't sound nearly as bad as getting the real estate license.
No, definitely not. It's which is crazy, right? I have had so many real estate agents that have come to me and they're like, "Hold up. It's only 20 hours of federal education plus maybe 1 or 2 hours of state, and you get your mortgage license." And I'm like, this is why who you partner with matters. And this is not just me like upselling Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. This is me saying any real estate agent partner that is out there, just be aware it's not a lot of education up front to get your mortgage license. So it is really about like trusting that the person you're working with has gone extra levels to educate themselves beyond just that, 20 hours plus any state hours to originally get their license.
Yeah, that's a fraction of the hours. In California, it's 135 hours. And I know Texas, if you're
It's
they have
crazy.
like 200 something hours. So yeah, much more doable. And
Yes.
for this. And then so once someone does join the company and they are working with a buyer. So how does this how would they move their buyer through this program?
So they are partnered with a senior loan officer. So for every agent that comes in, as I mentioned, we don't want them to give up their full-time real estate opportunity. This is just meant to be part-time. Like we want this to be the least amount of time invested, but the most successful second income stream they have, right? Because that's kind of the best of both worlds. So when they come in, they are partnered with a senior loan officer. This is a seasoned industry mortgage professional that knows loan products, programs, all the things, forwards, backwards, left to right, in circles. And so when they have a buyer that they're working with, that they're getting to the point of their buyer consultation where they're talking about mortgage, this is when they would say, hey, and by the way, I actually have a mortgage division of my team. And so the person who works on my team alongside me is Chelsea over at Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. I'm going to go ahead and send you my application link so we can look at getting you pre approved so we can narrow down exactly what the right purchase price range is going to be, what your monthly budget looks like, and just making sure we have a personalized financing solution that best fits you. So after I send you my application link, I'm going to send a group text over to you and Chelsea so you guys can get introduced. If you've got questions while you're filling out the application, please don't hesitate to reach out to her. But also, after you get that submitted, you can really think of her as my operations manager. So, just like how I told you, I have a transaction coordinator that helps out with like ordering our inspections and compliance on the real estate side. I have Chelsea over at Mutual, who she's kind of like my mortgage operations partner, that she's going to make sure everything goes seamlessly for you throughout your mortgage process. And then, exactly as I just said it, the senior loan officer person that they're partnered with, you can really think of them as just a licensed mortgage partner. So, same with if we look at a traditional mortgage team model, so even before we factored in real estate, the largest mortgage producers in the country, they are just focusing on business development and lead generation. Like they're not actually, going through and reviewing manual pay stubs and bank statements and things like that. They are just focused on business development. They have licensed people on their team that do the rest of that heavy lifting. And that's exactly what we want for Agent Plus is we don't want to take away from that agent's ability to continue to effectively work on business development and lead generation. So that senior loan officer partner is going to be, doing all of the heavy lifting. And then the agent is still the licensed loan officer for the transaction, right? And because of that license, ability to start the origination process, send out the application link, that allows them to be compensated at closing. So they're paid 50 basis points or what would be 0.5%. So I know basis points aren't a real estate thing, they're a mortgage thing. So they're paid 0.5% of the loan amount at closing. And so, like, if it's just for easy numbers sake, if it was $100,000 loan amount at closing, they would walk away with a $500 commission check from that transaction closing.
Awesome. I love that. And it's such a easy way, in my opinion, for an agent to get an extra half a point commission, basically.
Yes.
And it sounds like, they already have the lead, the buyer. Sounds like they just have to get them to fill out the application. And then the senior mortgage officer, loan officer does all the heavy lifting, does all the underwriting. And you're just more so the focal point of communication. And is that basically it?
No, and it is. And, the biggest thing too is we've talked about purchase, right? And doubling down on purchases and talking about, man, that really improves the process for that client. That now instead of having a separate mortgage lender and then that mortgage lender might have an assistant and then they have you as the agent and this and that, like you're making it one streamlined team. So
Mm.
it's just an all in-house type thing. Like you're the business owner and then you have this team that works underneath you and it's all one singular unit. But also, outside of that, when we're talking about client experience, to me, I hate the term previous client. Like, I think in real estate and mortgage, there's no such thing as a previous client. That's a lifetime client. Well, in real estate, what a lifetime client relationship looks like is just you're there when they need to buy or sell. But if they're only ever purchasing like a primary residence, look at how many years go by. I mean, you're still staying in touch and you're nurturing your database, but look at how many years go by before you're actually earning income again based on that nurtured relationship. Now look at how you have opportunity within your database that, yeah, somebody may only buy or sell their primary residence once every 5 to 7 years, but they may refinance 2 to 3 times, over the course of owning one particular home as their financial needs change or as they get a stronger equity standpoint or as interest rates come down. And before that client, you just have to either hope that the mortgage lender that you as the agent partnered with is following up with that person to let them know when they can take advantage of more favorable mortgage terms based on equity or interest rates. Or now you can do that. So this is now an extra additional touch point. Yes, it creates income for you, but also that lifetime client experience. Oh my gosh, now you have so many more touch points that you can actually be with them through all these additional steps that now that person is going to become a raving client more so than they were before because you truly have become their long-term wealth advisor or their long-term housing advisor because now you're on so many different sides of it. So to me, again, you're not doing any extra work because you're already nurturing your database to begin with, but now you actually have more reasons to follow up and reach out, which to me is a really big secret sauce component. Like some of the most successful agents that we have in this program right now are actually lead generating their past database based on mortgage opportunities and then
Mm,
getting real estate opportunities out of those, which is fantastic.
that blew my mind. I didn't even think about that because I'm coming from a real estate agent perspective. So I was just thinking of, the extra 0.5% on the purchase of the home for the loan. I wasn't even thinking about refinances. So
Uh-huh.
wow, that's a whole nother stream of revenue. And like you said, that is a perfect touch point with your client. So you're touching base with them and could potentially help them refinance. Or if not, maybe you find out they're looking to buy or sell or want an investment property or could get a referral. So wow, that that really blew my mind right there. I didn't even think about that. So do you have any success stories from agents using the Agent Plus program?
Yes. And preparing for this, I kind of was looking at like, okay, who's doing really well, and I started getting this list together, and it was very large. So I'm like, okay, I got to taper this down a little bit. Um, but the ones that I really wanted to highlight again, because I come from like a background of education of like, how can we really think of out of the box ways to lead generate to grow our business, like regardless of like how frequently the market changes, like how can we create such an adaptive business model to where we can win in any market. And so one gentleman that I would like to share, his name's Tom. He's out in Colorado. He's with Jason Mitchell Group. He has a relationship with a local hospital, and he has always had a relocation relationship for incoming doctors and nurses on the real estate side. Well, now that he's a dual licensed real estate agent and mortgage loan officer, all these doctors and nurses needing to relocate, we actually have a specialty doctors and physicians loan program that offers like 100% financing for these individuals, no PMI, like it's not subject to county loan limits. That now he's growing that relationship with that hospital one level deeper because not only can he help these relocating medical professionals buy and sell real estate as they come and go out of his area, he can also now help them with their mortgage needs as well because of like the specialty loan programs that we have. So it's kind of just, and we do this with everybody when they onboard. It's like, help us get to know your business. Like, how do you lead generate? Like, are you a social media influencer? Do you have relationships with local businesses? Community that you're a relocation specialist? Are you a military focused agent in a very, heavy active duty area? Like, where does your business come from? And then we say, okay, here's a way that we could help you leverage these mortgage loan products and programs to strengthen those relationships to get you more business. And so that's something that was a big win for him because, like I said, that's just now growing that relationship. We have another gentleman, his name's Dave. He's with Real out in Virginia. And one way that he's leveraged this is when he was calling and nurturing his database, he spoke to a previous investor that he worked with that he's not been wanting to buy anything soon because he's just, not in the position where he's got like the liquid cash to be able to do so. And traditional mortgages, if you're somebody who is self-employed, as you know, Lance, and have a bunch of rental properties, like it is a lot of paperwork to go through a traditional mortgage process. So, we educated Dave like, hey, we have this DSCR loan that we don't need any of that income verification. Like, we just need to look at the properties themselves and what their, DSCR is. And so he actually was able to get a 3-pack of refinances from one of his investors to pull cash out of those properties to now fund the purchase of another property. So he just got 3 mortgage refinances and he got a real estate purchase. So he's now got 4 transactions he's earning commission on just from that one database nurturing call. So that's huge, right? Like and not always do they happen in like that, like successful of a manner. There was probably many, many, many phone calls that happened before he got that win. But again, that's how he leveraged the mortgage opportunity. And then it turned into a real estate purchase, so that was something that was a feel good moment. So too, we have the other one I wanted to share. That's a gentleman named Vince. He's down in Georgia. He's primarily a listing agent. So there may be listing agents listening to this podcast that are thinking like, well, this sounds great. Realistically, like I don't work with a lot of buyers. This is probably not going to make sense for me. This is predominantly a listing agent, but he hosts the majority of his own open houses, or he has like one of his buyer's agents do it on his team. And they actually now leverage mortgage at their open houses. So, of course, if a buyer comes in, they have the real estate conversation first. If they're already represented by another agent, like they're completely respectful of that as they should be. But then they talk about mortgage. Like, are you already represented by a lender? Oh, you're not. Would you like to know your pre approval options for this home? Oh, you are already pre approved. One of the things I always tell my clients, make sure you're getting the best deal. Easiest way to do that is to get a comparison pre approval. And so, he is just cranking it out on these open houses, whether it's him or one of his buyer's agents that are hosting them. They are getting a lot of mortgage opportunities where they're representing the listing side. Like these buyers are already coming in, they're already working with an agent, and they may or may not be already working with a mortgage lender. But there's nothing that says like the listing agent can't work with the buyer for their mortgage, right? Like we kind of see that somewhat on the real estate side if somebody has dual agency where it's, same agent working with buyer seller. This is a little bit different than that, but this is still, you know, a way to win as a listing agent. And if you think about it, and this was an agent, she's in North Carolina, she uses this strategy as well. Her name is Debbie. She has said, it's your fiduciary duty to the seller to make sure that you sell their home, with the best terms, with the least amount of headaches, with the clearest success path to closing. And one of the ways to ensure that is to make sure the buyer is totally secure and happy with their financing terms. So, secure in that is not just going to get denied in underwriting because that lender didn't do their due diligence up front of adequately pre approving that person, but also like making sure that they don't decide 2 weeks in, oh, I'm gonna shop lenders because honestly, like I talked to my cousin, Joe, and I talked to my aunt Jill, and they said like I don't have a good rate or I'm paying too much in closing costs. And then closing gets delayed because they flip lenders halfway through because we're worried about getting the best terms. Now, again, we can seek to present the best terms, the best experience, the best pre-underwritten pre-approvals to now, not only is that a win to the buyer because they're getting the best of everything, but we're also reassuring that seller, hey, we're making sure this person is totally solid, that they feel good about their mortgage terms, but also we feel good about their ability to qualify for financing for this house up until the time of closing. And that's just a big win for both sides. So there's a lot of different ways to be able to maneuver this program. Like, and some agents too that are getting ready to retire, their thing is, it's like, I am so close to retiring. Like, this is just, I appreciate you so much, but this is not the right time to have this conversation. Well, that person who's getting ready to retire, again, look how big their database is. That, okay, you don't want to be listing homes anymore. You don't want to be out showing homes anymore. You don't want to do open houses. Like you're trying to actively refer out business. So then that way you're no longer, having to do these things. You can kind of relax into retirement. This is a great program for that.
I love it. This, in my mind, seems like a no brainer. And yeah, I'll include all your information in the show notes. Thank you so much, Chelsea. And this has been a blast.
1,